Hey everybody, how you doing? Dave Fennoy here. Another Wednesday, another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. And boy, does my light look weird. I'll just move that light that's there. And I'll turn this one up just a little bit, and I think that's a little bit better. Well, maybe not. That'll work. Can you see me? I'm here. Honest. Anyway, another Wednesday. Here we are. Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. A reminder that this lives on YouTube. You can find all the Dave Fennoy, Ask Dave Fennoy Anythings at Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. And wow, where's my graphics? Oh yeah, there it is. I knew I could bring it up. So Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training, and if you're interested in private coaching or to be reminded that this happens every Wednesday, or find out when I'm giving various deals, or I'm going to be working someplace or doing classes someplace, you can sign up at davefennoy.com and you'll be notified. Quick hello to the first timers. Well, the first timers right now who joined me. Heather Lynn Watt, how you doing? Thomas Machin, good to see you, man. Charity James, all right. Hey, I've got a great guest today, and I am not going to wait any longer to introduce her. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Ann Ganguzza. And how come your makeup and your lighting is perfect?
Well, I've been working on this for a while, so it only took me many years.
I see. And you've got the red headphones on. I just knew they were going to be blue.
Well, I kind of did my nails, so I had to have everything. And now I've decided that a good color for your headphones is just as good as a good lipstick. So I'm gonna get, I've already got blue. I've got my red. I'm gonna get orange. It's gonna be so much fun.
So maybe Apple is onto something with the multicolored phones and
And
iMacs and so
the
forth.
IMAX, I saw that and I want a blue one. I do want a blue one. I do love my blue. I do have my pretty blue one.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yep.
I know in the promo that's what you had on. You had a whole thing in blue. But let's not talk about color. Let's talk about you and voiceover and your voiceover career. For those who don't know, you've been doing this for a good long time. Are we
Yeah.
2 decades?
No, actually, we're 15 years.
15 years. Okay.
Yep, 15 years. Mm-hmm.
So a decade and a
Yep,
half, and
decade and a half.
that's a lot of good time. And we've known each other for a while. One of the
Yeah.
things I love about you is you don't really do the same thing I do in the voiceover world,
Hmm.
but you have introduced yourself to just about anybody who's interested in voiceover and wants to learn some things. You bring different guest speakers into your Vo Peeps group, and I think you were ahead of the curve with that. You've been doing that for a while. How did you get started with Vo Peeps? And I know I'm kind of
Hmm.
skipping over how you got started in
Oh,
voiceover, but what made you decide that, hey, you know what? I'm going to have people come to my house, and we're going to invite people like Dave Fennoy to stop by and teach, because you've brought a bunch of great people in, and create this whole Vo Peeps thing and just cover the world of voiceover the way you do.
well, I love that you opened with that actually, because it's near and dear to my heart. When I moved to California, I wanted to kind of get to know people in the voiceover industry, and I wanted people to know me, and I really just wanted to meet really cool people like you. That was that was a big thing. And I also, because I had come from an education background and I was a teacher, I taught for 20 years, and I actually missed teaching. So I thought, oh, it would be great to have a group of people. And I did focus on distance education. So I was familiar with the internet, I was familiar with streaming technologies, and they were like in their infancy back then. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool? I mean, I first did a local group, and then I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I just made it global? Because I'm familiar with technologies that on the internet and kind of streaming when it was at its very, gosh, I remember streaming. I can't remember the name of the program, but it was like Telestream, something very early, and it just worked out so well, and I loved being able to have people locally as well as bringing people from all over the world to be able to share in resources. And I know that, when I moved to California, I wanted to have people I could talk to that were, like-minded, and, hey, how did you set up your booth here, or what kind of microphone do you use? And it was kind of that sort of thing. I wanted to just, ask questions. How are you doing? How are you marketing yourself? That sort of thing. And I just created the group, and it just grew. So I decided to invite people to my home because at first it was just, oh, let's get together and have dinner together and talk to each other. And then it just became a thing where I wanted to kind of have a party, and I wanted to invite great guests over and talk to them. And then I just said, well, this would just be great to make it available to everybody on the internet as well. And it just really worked out well. I did it. Gosh, I did it for many, many years.
Well,
And then
it was, I can't remember exactly how many years that you invited me down.
yep,
And it was a party, and it
yep.
was dinner, and it was training, and you had a group of people live
Mhm.
that I was teaching and coaching and talking about voice acting for video games. And then you had a whole other group of people who were online.
Yes.
It was amazing. And you got your husband, who is just a fabulous chef, to
He
cook.
is, I'll tell you. And we had so much fun, I have to tell you. I mean, we did have a lot of fun, and it was like once a month. I decided once a month, let's just have a big party and let's celebrate and invite all the people that I've always wanted to meet. And really provide an educational opportunity for everyone. And it worked out wonderfully. I mean, we just had a great time. It ended up, it's still a passion of mine. I still have the group, but I do everything online now. It makes it a little
Yeah,
bit easier,
yeah.
because the dinners and we did it themed, if you remember. And we would theme everything depending on who the guest was, and we'd have like a themed drink, we'd have a themed dinner. I'd do my nails, like with the theme, and it really got to be a whole lot of fun. And I think everybody had a great time, and I'm
If you
so
could
glad
only
that I
figure
did
out
it.
to do virtual dinner and drinks, then
Exactly,
you'd
right?
really be into something.
Yeah,
Well, that's coming.
yeah. It is.
Artificial something or other. It'll
Right.
be. So listen, you came out of corporate training. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
I did.
And
Well, corporate training and education.
how did you switch that up? When did you become interested in voiceover, and how did that come about?
So the whole corporate training and education, I really was a technical person working for a school. So it was a combination of, and the school actually was, they were really great at acting like a corporation. So we would go and get the best technology out there and become academies. So we would be like Dell academies, Apple academies, SAP academies, Oracle academies. So anything that we wanted to provide the students, we would become an academy. And of course, the companies love that because they want the kids growing up, learning their stuff and wanting to buy it and use it as they got older. So we really were high tech, and I absolutely loved it. And I ended up installing some of the very first voice over IP phone systems back in the day. It was in the late 1990s. In a bunch of campuses around the state of New Jersey, as well as nonprofit and government one-stop career centers. So we installed all of these phones when it just came out. It was a thing, and it got to the point where I was, project managing it, and the phones would be installed, and I'd say, okay, guys, you got 200 phones, and you just got to record that welcome message and the greeting. And nobody wanted to do that, and they just said, oh, you'll do that for me. I was like, okay.
So you kind
And
of fell in telephony.
I fell into telephony, and I loved it because, working kind of on the tech side of things, people never call you up and say how wonderful the technology is working. They usually just are unhappy and frantic that it's not working. And so when I used to go in and record those, thanks for calling, I used to be able to just shut the door. Nobody could bother me, and it was just really a whole lot of fun. And I just became that character, whatever character I wanted to be, that would just welcome people, to the company. And I loved it. And that's how I got started in voiceover, actually. So I did thousands of phone systems and became the voice, and just said, you know what? People would say, you should maybe do this on the side. And I thought, oh yeah, it
Now,
sounds like a
when
good
you were
idea.
doing that for the companies you were doing work for, were they paying you extra for that, or
No,
this was just Oh,
Not at all. It was part of my job as a project manager.
yeah.
It just became a thing, and I was like, "Well, I mean, I ultimately said I'm gonna capitalize on that," and I went and did my due diligence, researched and, got some coaching, one-on-one coaching, and worked hard and, then got into voiceover and did that part-time, until I, pretty much was done with that job and then moved west. So, yeah, it was great. I mean, I can't
Okay, now
complain. It
did you
got me
meet your
started.
husband out there or out here?
On the East Coast.
So
Yes,
you guys
on
came
the East
together.
Coast. We came to and I remember saying to him, "You know what, Jer? You should see if you can get a transfer to California." And I just was like, because at this point, I was like, I had been with the company, well, with the educational system for 20 years, and I was done. I mean, I love teaching, but I was kinda just I was done, and I was ready to for something different. I actually really wanted good weather, and
Ah,
that was like a big thing. I wanted good weather because I was tired
oh,
of the
by the
snow
way,
and the cold.
Linda Baker just piped in. Thanks, Ann. My start in telephony as well.
Yep. I love it to this day, even though, I think it's probably gonna be taken over, at some point by, some AI technology. I still love to do it, but it's fine. It gave me my start, and, I don't complain about it.
You know what? Let's talk about that. You mentioned
Mhm.
AI technology. We've had a number of conversations about it.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on where it is now, where it's going, and how it's going to affect us voiceover actors?
Well, thanks for asking. I've done a pretty extensive series, or there's going to be an extensive series. I've already started it with my VO Boss podcast on AI and voice. It just so happens that I do have my husband does work for an AI company, and
Oh, you've
I've
got to
always
divorce him.
well,
Let him go.
or he's hiring me as the primary voice where I'm getting all the commission. So,
Well, there you
uh,
go.
or the compensation. So, um,
Because I didn't know there were commissions.
well, we're gonna work that.
Uh,
See, that's what I think a smart
that
person
would
is
make
going to do.
sense. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanna license it, and I want that voice to be owned by me, and I want that voice, every time it's used I wanna specify usage, and I wanna get paid. And that is basically how I think. I don't think AI is certainly not stopping.
No.
AI has been
No.
going on for years already, and it just happens to be the thing now. It's really I think during the pandemic, like, people were just really, like, working hard on AI because all of a sudden it seems to have evolved so quickly.
Yeah.
And there are a number of companies out there that are creating AI voices. And I personally think, after doing a ton of research, that AI has much grander uses than just, making a voice more human. AI is used in like healthcare. It's used in, for disabled people, used for like smart agriculture. It's used for all sorts of really wonderful things. And I think the voice part of it is just a tiny part of it. I don't think we're going to stop it. It's coming. And I think that if we're smart, we have to evolve. We have to watch it. We have to educate ourselves, and we have to evolve along with it. And I would say that honestly, I want two versions of my voice. I want and the human voice, that's me, and then I want an AI voice, and I want that to be licensed. I want to own it, and I want to be able to get paid every time it gets used.
Now, would you say with that AI voice that this is something that you would create, another company would create it, and you would control it, or you've
Yeah.
licensed it to this particular company who is going to license it to other companies,
Mm,
but you're going to get a certain percentage of when it's being used?
that's a great question. Well, I can't make it because I don't do AI. That's not my thing. So I personally can't make it. So I have to hire a company to do it. And companies are just now starting to kind of have that opportunity. I'm sure I mean, we've all heard about the TTS jobs that are out there. And then there are companies who take it one step further, and they take the recordings from the TTS, and they evolve it into an AI voice. Most of the times, I mean, prior to, what's going on with Bev, and I know you had Bev on the other day,
Oh yeah.
it was something that companies just took. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
companies just took. And
Yes.
it's like we've been given our voice for we all have a cell phone, right? We've been given our voice for years already. And the companies have been using it maybe for testing, for, developing things. And ultimately, I think that, as I mentioned before, we're not stopping it from evolving, but we can certainly create, like, bad things usually have to happen before,
Yeah.
let's say, legislation gets involved, the law gets involved. And that's why I think it's evolving in a normal path. I mean,
Well,
and we
looking,
also have to stand up for our rights as well, like
yeah,
Bev is, which is
not
fantastic.
only stand up for, but
Yeah.
create our
Yeah,
rights.
absolutely.
Look,
Absolutely.
looking, I've been a union voice actor for a long time. And, I have somebody that's looking out for me, making sure I
Yes.
get paid the right
Mhm.
amount of money, making sure that my health care, well, it used to be free if you made enough money. Now it's
Mhm.
just costs less than most people if you make enough money.
Mhm.
Uh, but I think as a nation, we live in this world as voice actors, voice workers. And I think it's really going to be up to collectively bargain with the companies that are doing
Yes.
AI to get
Mhm.
a fair shot.
Yep. Yep.
Otherwise, they will just use this. I think it was very
Yeah.
interesting, the news that just came out about what the 1% pays in taxes, which is less than
Mhm.
everybody here listening.
Mhm.
Uh, the working class is taxed. The billionaire class, the multimillionaire class is not. And it's going to be up to us, as long as we can keep our right to vote, uh,
Mhm.
to change that. To change that.
Absolutely. And I think that we all have to be vigilant. We have to be educated, which is one of the reasons why I have gone so far. I literally have already got 20 episodes of AI and voice, and I welcome, or, please listen. I don't have 20 already. I'm already on like number 5. But I have not stopped interviewing companies since I started this podcast. And it's so interesting, the education that I'm getting. And right now, if we just start like permeating, right? Bev is a really great start, right? But we start permeating, talking to companies and saying to companies, is there going to be, will we own our voice and will we get compensated where when this
I
voice
don't
is
think it should
used?
be a question. I
Yeah.
think it
Well,
should be a statement. We will
yeah.
own our voices.
Yep.
We will get compensation because you don't have to get that much of each of those jobs,
hmm
and each time your voice is used to have a decent living.
Absolutely. It would be a nice, like, residual coming in. And
Exactly.
especially, they try to sell it like, oh, when you're not available. But I'll tell you that the and I have the interview coming out next week, but the company that my husband works for, they deal a lot in entertainment. So literally they've created an OS for AI, and literally pull from all the big companies, which are, like Google, Amazon, and all that. And literally they have like, uh, like, I can't even tell you how much footage and video they have of, celebrities, right? So to create a celebrity voice, they have enough media, they have enough audio, they have enough video to create a voice. I don't know how good that voice is, I'm not necessarily sure, but that is their aim. Because if a celebrity can't, like, make it back to the studio to do a pickup, or, they want to be able to use this voice. And of course, they want to be able to compensate, the celebrity. And I'm like, well, we need to extend that to voice actors, because one really important thing that I think not everybody realizes is, to make a good AI voice, you have to be a great voice actor, because you want that AI voice to sound human, right? So,
Yes.
how many people can read a script and sound human? Right? Not many. I mean, voice actors can, right? And that is so, so important. So they need voice actors to create great voices.
Absolutely.
And so therefore voice actors should be getting, right? They absolutely should be getting paid every time that voice gets used.
All right, I've got a comment here from Elsie Brodas. Hi, Dave and Ann. This is such a great opportunity to see both of you. Normally, it costs hundreds to see both of you at the VO conferences, though totally worth it. Thank you for putting that in there. Question: how long away do you think licensing our AI voices is away from happening? May answer before you see this. No, we did not answer before you saw that. What do you think?
Oh, I know 3 companies already that have it in their contracts. So, for commercial use. Absolutely. Yep, for commercial use.
And the voices that are there are being, they're
When they're
licensing, they're
sold
getting paid. When they're sold, they're getting paid.
when they're sold commercially, they get a percentage.
Well, that
So
actually,
it's literally just started, like just started. But there are companies who are claiming this to be true. Even the company, the company that I just interviewed that just has a new voice out called Marvel.ai, which is what a great name is that. They secured that, but yeah, literally they have it in the contract that you will get paid. I don't know what the percentage is right now, but I will find out.
okay, okay.
You know, um, yeah, because it's just started. I know 3 companies so far that have said that they will. Now, if you give the voice for their own development and use, right, and testing internally, they may not pay you. I know some companies that are paying you for that. It's not a big price tag. But they also claim to say that you will get paid every time it gets used. Now, I think you absolutely need to look at those contracts super closely, and you need to get a lawyer involved, probably. I mean,
I was going to say,
I would do
rather than
that.
just look at the
Yeah,
contracts,
yeah,
have a lawyer look at the
yeah,
contracts.
and
You want to translate
specify.
that legalese into
Mhm.
something that we normal human beings would understand.
Yeah, and you wanna make sure that you specify the usage of that voice. It is to be used for this particular job, for this particular company. Should that company, go under, should that company no longer exist or be absorbed by another company, my data is destroyed. That is, first and foremost, that's gotta be on the contract. And I spoke to Rob Siglampaglia as well, who says, yeah, you absolutely have to have things like that put into your contract. Now, it doesn't mean that the company won't be a jerk and go out of business and then sell it like, maybe, I don't know,
Yeah.
a company that we know. But again, like Bev, I said to Bev, if I had the choice, right? If I had the choice, do I want to be able to voice this? Because maybe there's some exclusivity issues. Maybe, do I want to do that McDonald's commercial or do I want to leave a legacy? I wanna leave a legacy, you know? That's me. And hopefully, things work out. I really hope, but I feel like Bev has really stepped up and this is it is something that could really mean a lot for our entire industry. The first step that she's taken, and I commend her for that, and I
And
think it's
and
amazing.
Rob Signapalia, because he is a voice actor and
Mhm.
basically the voice, the lawyer to the voiceover community,
Yeah.
he's going to be very important in
Oh,
these
yeah,
steps. And
absolutely.
and I'm glad he's there. I've been aware of him for
Mhm.
a long time. I've never
Yep.
used his legal services, but I have a
I have.
feeling a lot of us may
Yeah.
be in the future.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
but I have his number handy because at some point I'm going to need it, and it'll probably be for something like this.
Yeah,
And
absolutely,
hold on one second. I just
yeah.
want to those of you who are listening, if you've got a question, a thought, a comment for myself or for Ann Ganguzza, be sure to type it in right now. We definitely want to hear from you. As you were saying.
Oh, I was just saying I've used Rob's services before. He's fantastic. He knows the industry. That's important. He knows what to look for. There's also, I know that Lotus Productions in New York City has also done a lot of work with these types of contracts, so they're very familiar as well. So, and I've got an interview coming up with them in the next couple of weeks too.
Ah,
So it's just, and I have learned so much. I can't even tell you. I'm exhausted, but it's really an amazing education. And now that I kind of see, what's progressing and how fast it's progressing, I can see a light at the end of the tunnel. Because again, like I said, we are not stopping it. And we really just need to be the ones to put it out there that yes, we deserve fair compensation. And the more of us that do that, the more it gets to the companies who, if they want to work, if they want a great AI voice and they want to work with us, guess what? we're going to have to be, we're going to have to be compensated fairly. We're going to have to be able to have control over that. And that will create a great AI voice. And that's the cool thing, is that we do have that, we're actors. We have
yeah,
that,
yeah.
in a way, we have an upper hand.
Oh, let's see. Oh, I hit the wrong one, but Jody, let's find out what she had to say. I just had them on my podcast, and they
Yep.
had some interesting things to say about voice AI. I have no doubt they'll make excellent guests on your podcast talking about that specifically. Education is definitely needed.
Yes,
And this is what I
very much
meant to
agreed.
click. My fingers got in the way. Victor Singleton. And do you think there's a bigger risk of doing AI work for foreign companies in China, etc.?
Oh goodness, I would say at this point, yeah, because laws are different, over. Although I will say that in Europe there is I think it's called the AI. I some sort of the AI law or something very simple like that. But I know in Europe that they are absolutely trying to make sure that your voices, that artists' voices are protected, and that there is some sort of um, standards and maybe laws created around AI because there's a lot of concern about deep fakes and those types of things happening. So there everybody's looking very closely at AI. Like we have to step back and really understand that this is much bigger than the voiceover industry. It really is. And there are countries, there are um ethics committees, companies that have invested heavily in this. And at this point they want to make things, I think they want to make things right. I think they want to make things ethical. They want to make, because they want the money. Just saying, they want to create the products that are going to, make them money. And so in order to do that, I think there needs to be regulations, there needs to be laws, and I think that it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And again, it's not just about the voiceover industry. It's about the world,
I
you
am
know?
not as hopeful as you are.
Mhm.
I feel more like this is going to be a fight,
Mhm.
and for us to come out, and I don't even want to say on top, but to come out with a fair share for our services, we are going to have to fight. We are going to
Yeah.
have to make demands. I don't know if it's marching in the street or marching
Mhm.
online, uh, but I don't think most people who are making money and can take advantage of your voices, if they don't have to pay, they
Right.
won't pay.
They won't. Oh, and I agree with you there. I really do. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why we have to educate ourselves. Companies will take what they can take. And again, unless we're educated and we stand up and we make sure if we decide to work with a company, that we are asking the people in the company like what are are you giving me compensation? Do I have rights to my voice? And really having that, the legal stuff looked at, I think by a lawyer. And I say if they don't have a policy page on their website, if because I know a certain amount of companies do have a page, their terms and services. If they don't specify terms, that's a red flag. If they won't talk to you about their terms, obviously it's a red flag. And by the way, most of the companies, you don't even realize it. If you submit anything for transcription, they've already said that they're using your voice. They're taking your voice. They never said it before, and they were. And now at least they're specifying that they are.
Mm.
But the one company that I'm thinking in particular, this company will take and use your voice, and they specify it on their webpage um, for purposes, for internal purposes, for making their product better. However, they do not own it. You own it, and they will not use it outside of their own purposes. So it's stated, and it's interesting. I talked to Rob about that, and he said, "Well, that's a step." They actually stated that, so it's not the worst thing,
Mm.
And then they said if they were to turn that audio into an AI voice, that you would own the voice, and therefore they would not be able to sell it commercially without your permission. So,
Fingers
yeah,
crossed.
yeah,
All right,
we've got to be smart.
got another
We got to be
comment
smart
here.
about it.
Michaela Moss, do you not worry that the same thing may happen with AI voiceover as what happened to musicians with iTunes, Spotify, etc., getting paid 0.007 cents per play? There are a lot of great musicians not getting paid for their talent. And I was a musician for a long time. I've got a lot of musician friends. And the music business did completely
Oh, it
change.
did. Mhm.
iTunes and being able
Yep.
to carry music in a tiny little device changed everything.
Mhm.
Record sales went away, and now for musicians to do well, they've got to tour. They've got to
Yeah.
tour. There are a few now, comparatively to what used to be, a few people who are making vast sums of money with recordings, but most are not. It's a
Yeah,
whole
touring
nother financial
and
system.
promotions.
Yeah, and promotions.
Touring
It's a,
and promotions, yep. And I mean, honestly, I can't say that I don't think that might happen, to be honest. I mean, it's a perfect example, right? But you've got to really I mean, this our market is driven by consumers, right? I mean, if it's going to be acceptable, right, for someone to pick up a phone and call a company and then hear a robotic voice or an AI voice on the other end and it's okay, what are we going to do about that, right? I do believe that the human, emotion and the human like actor, and the more of an actor you are, I don't think that's going to go away. I don't think that'll
well,
go away.
I think our commercial work,
Yep.
narration that requires a thought, a
Mhm.
feeling behind it,
Yep.
video games,
Mhm.
cartoons.
Yep.
I don't think we're going to lose that work. We are going to lose
I
a
don't
lot of
either.
things that may be robotic. And
Yep.
right now, they're paying people to do that work that they are not paying rates that you or I would work with. So yeah, our industry is
Yep.
changing, but I think quality will always rise to the
Yep.
top. I've got
I agree.
another comment here from Jody Krangle. The Open Voice Network is at http://openvoicenetwork.org. Is a neutral nonprofit industry association dedicated to the development of the standards and ethical use guidelines that will
Yep.
make voice worthy of user trust. They're
Mhm.
definitely an organization to keep an eye on, especially now.
Yep.
Thank
I
you,
agree.
Jody, for that.
Mhm.
And, you know, I know when I got in this business, so I know when I got in this business, I did not get in to be um, a lawyer. All I wanted to be was a voice actor. And what I've discovered and continue to discover is we have to be so much more than that.
Oh
Our
yeah.
our love may be doing the
Mhm.
voiceover work, but we have to pay it. We have to look up from our microphones from time to time and see where the world is going and how it
Mhm.
is affecting us because we live in this world. And whatever happens, we're a part of it and are going to
Mm.
be at its effect. Um, Once again, you got some questions. Well, let me go back to some other things that you're doing. Now,
Sure.
having come out of education, I know one of the
Mhm.
most important things to you is that connection and educating
Mhm.
people who are doing voiceover work, people who are getting started in voiceover work, and people who may need to do a little bit more of what I just talked about. Take care of business. And you've got a podcast that you do with another voice actor called VO Boss. Tell me about that.
So I used to do VO Boss with
Oh,
another voice actor, and now I changed my format. So now what I'm doing for the past couple of years is I am doing it's based on the business of voiceover, and now it's topic based. So I had like and I try to do like a series, like maybe a quarterly series. So the first time after I reformatted, it was an agent series, and I worked with Liz Atherton, and then I had a content marketing series that I worked with Pamela Muldoon on. I did an entrepreneurial hustle that I was with Keisha Monk for a while. And now I'm doing an AI and voice, which I started off with one of the presidents of VoiceWeave and a voice app developer, Jenny. She did a few episodes with me, and then ultimately I started to have a bunch of companies that wanted to be on the podcast because they all want to get on the good side of voice actors. I think I don't know, but all of a sudden, like I've had a barrage of people wanting to do that, and I have to say I think what happened is I took my VO Peeps, right, when my VO Peeps parties where I was like, I wanted to educate, I wanted to bring some education, make it available for people. Now I think that turned into a podcast. And so I said, well, I want to be able to give back. And that was my podcast. And, it's a 20-minute episode every week. I've been doing it for 4 years. And, ultimately it is a love, it is a passion of mine. And I don't anticipate that I'll stop doing that because it's brought me a lot of joy,
well,
actually.
well, let's
So,
talk about it. Let's talk about a
mhm,
few of those things that you just mentioned.
Mhm.
In setting up your voiceover business, what do you think is the biggest mistake most voice actors make?
Hmm. There's a good question. That they don't think about it, number one. When they set up their
They don't
business,
think about their business. They
they
just
don't
think
think about
about,
their business, right? And I think it's really important that they think about their business. I think there's a lot of people that um, start off and they don't. They're not necessarily thinking business wise about their investments. They're not thinking about, where their money is going, and the importance of being able to have an online presence in today's world, which would be a website, which is that's a big thing, so that you can advertise what you do and your business online. I think that's important. um what else? There's a lot of people, and I'm not going to say it's the biggest mistake, but there's a lot of people who will coach and coach and coach and coach and produce demo after demo after demo after demo, and they never quite make the step to getting out there and launching their business.
uh,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
and
uh,
they're like eternal students, and I
oh,
get that because I love to learn.
I don't think there's anything wrong with being an eternal student as
I
long
don't
as
either.
you're not just an
Yeah,
eternal student.
yeah,
And even I study even when I'm not paying somebody
me too.
because I'm watching, I'm learning, I'm listening, I'm learning. Uh, but I have seen that same thing where uh, lesson after lesson after lesson, at some point, you've got to get to a point where you're willing to take that leap of faith
Hmm.
and put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Uh, you may never feel ready, and I promise you, whoever you are doing this business, you will have times, no matter how much you work, where you doubt yourself.
Oh
Uh,
goodness, yeah.
you will have times when you're just working, and then is my phone working? Do they have my email address? What's going on? It is just the nature of this business. If you want to stay in this game for a long time, you're going to have to constantly reinvent yourself, constantly update who you are, what you do, what your approach is. You can't just, oh, I've got this thing, I've got this read,
Hmm.
this is going to keep working for me. No, it won't.
Yeah.
Uh, you're always going to have to work on improving your chops,
Oh
changing your
goodness.
game a little bit.
Be more human. I'm just saying, like, if you want to, that's okay. If you don't want to study and and
Yeah,
take
good. More work
acting
for
and take
us.
coaching, go ahead, because the AI robots will take your job away. Because if you sound like a robot, they're gonna, they're coming. You're in competition with them. So you need to be as authentic, as human, as you need to be that actor more now than ever. And I just have such Dave, I'm like your biggest fan. I think you are just such a phenomenal, first of all, educator, but actor. And I feel like just people listen to Dave, listen to you in your roles, and like, my gosh, we all need to aspire to just be that human in all our reads, and that is something we spend, I mean, it's not something you learn in a lesson. We take years, we take our entire careers getting better, and in getting to that place where they're not going to be able to direct an AI voice to do that. They just aren't. They just
No,
aren't.
no.
And I think honestly, like, don't forget that people are the ones that are developing AI voices. There's going to come a time where, I mean, yes, there can be evil people. I'm like, there's good people, there's evil people, but I'm just thinking the good people, we're not going to push it to the point where it's freaky.
Well,
That's just
I
my
think
thought.
sometimes even good people, there are people who do not mean to do harm,
Mhm.
and they are doing harm, and part of it is because they don't see the harm they're doing.
Right.
They are not at its effect. What they see is what's right in front of them, and then there are voice actors over there that are, are struggling because they're not getting the compensation that
Mhm.
should be coming to them. That's going to these people that created this AI monster.
Sure.
And this happens in the public all the time. There are people who don't mean any ill will toward insert group here, but something about how they're living their lives, what they're not paying attention to,
Mhm.
causes harm. So we really do have to be careful and watch our P's and
Mhm.
Q's
Yeah.
and look
We
out
have to
for one
look up.
another. Yeah.
Yeah,
We have,
exactly. And I think too, Dave, like I would say to you, because you do a lot of video games. I mean, there's, I'm sure in the industry, I mean, that was like the first, I think, genre people were like, oh, the gaming industry. Well, we could just have an AI voice. That would make things so much easier. What I have heard is that in gaming, they might use AI voices for, let's say, background characters, not main characters. Because I don't think you can ever direct. You can't direct an AI voice
I
to be
saw
that human.
I saw an example of them working with AI voices, trying to make lead type
Mhm.
characters that were more than one dimensional, and even the one dimensional characters. And when I say that, I'm talking about characters that don't necessarily have different interactions with a variety of different characters. The things they say are basically um, in their tone, whatever that is,
Mhm. Mhm.
as opposed to characters that have a lot of different relationships with a variety of different kinds of people. That I don't think they're ever going to get.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
The biggest issue I think for video games right now is protecting our voices. I know
Mhm.
that very often I'm at the edge of vocal strain. And there are times like I've had a tough session or a tough couple of sessions, and it's like, well, you know what? I'm not talking until tomorrow morning.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's taking care of our voices. But the gaming industry over the years has started looking out for us. I've never had the blood coming up, but I know some voice actors who, they got through with a session and they're spitting up blood. Uh, Directors, especially nowadays, help you try to protect your voice. But the only thing I'll say for those of you getting into it, when you see the script that says battle chatter, be afraid, be very afraid. Let's see, Nikki Mo, how you doing? I think AI will be like self-check in the grocery stores. It takes away human jobs, not totally, but significantly. Voice actors should stay away from these jobs. IMO. I'm gonna give my thought, and then I'll let you give your thought. I agree a bit and I disagree a bit. I think if we have a fair contract, if we are doing AI voices that we are being compensated for usage, I think we're okay. If they're buying your voice a one-time fee and that's it, and they can use it into perpetuity, then we've got a problem. And personally, I'm somebody that goes to the grocery store and I want to get a checker. I want a human being because I agree with you. It's taken away jobs, so I don't use them. Your thoughts on her comment, or do I need to put it up again?
Oh, no, I think okay, so I think, yes, I agree with you that, yes, if our voice is used in perpetuity should not be part of anyone's vocabulary anymore, ever. Just saying. You know what I mean? Even, like, I work a lot in, e-learning and corporate, and, it's just been, like, in the beginning, like, you don't really think about that. But again, once you become educated and you're aware, I started, my terms of service have been like, 1 year license. And so I start putting terms on there. And if anybody has issues with that, I will, we have a discussion. I mean, my client has a discussion. So I truly believe that, there should never be any more in perpetuity, unless you're absolutely sure and your contract states that, I don't know, it'll only be used for one particular application, never again. But I always feel like things are updating. And so in perpetuity for voices, may it's not practical. Um, and I think that if you are compensated, yes, I would agree that that could happen. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, I think I was looking at Karen the other day. I saw posted on Facebook. She said, "You know what? Her 2 year old, I think it's her 2 year old, uses Alexa every single day." So it's one of those things that it's going to be here, if it's
Yeah.
not already, and it's coming when the younger generation grows up. So they will be using things like voice services like that, and in the checkout line. And I agree with you. I like to talk to somebody
Yeah.
when I check out my groceries.
Oh,
So
one of my pet peeves in life is picking up the phone to call any service, any
mhm.
bank, anything,
Yep.
Hi, your call is very important to us. I'm sorry, have a longer than expected wait. If you'd like to talk about so and so, or so and so, or so and so, press this or that or the. Drives me nuts. But this
Oh, I
is the
know.
world. This is the world we live in. You know what? You just said something very important. You've got a client. And they've offered you a contract that says nothing about usage and how
At all.
long that usage is. And right now, you're the person who talks to them and says, well, you can only have it for X amount of time. I think a lot of people, especially early on in this business, uh, so happy to get the work, they don't want to
Mm,
rock the
yeah.
boat. So let me play devil's advocate with you. I'm the guy who's hiring you, and I'm about to tell you that I want this in perpetuity. So, Miss Ganguzza, we're going. It is Ganguzza, right? Yes.
It is.
We
Yeah.
love your voice. We love your work. Uh, 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 we really want to hire you, and this job is going to pay $5,000. And we want it in perpetuity. We want to be able to use your voice for the next 50 years. And, well, we are paying you $5,000.
Yeah, I would walk away. And here's the thing. The
You
way
wouldn't
that I
even talk.
present
You
it.
wouldn't even talk to the guy. You
Oh,
wouldn't
I'd
even.
talk to him. Oh, I'd
Okay.
absolutely talk to him.
And what would you say?
So, well, let me just tell you how I would first do this. So, first of all, this is before the phone call even happens, right? In my quote are my terms. Basically, I have a big paragraph at the end that says prepayment, especially if it's a new client, a new client, prepayment. And I say prepayment via PayPal or electronic method to Ann Ganguzza is preferred. And then I put, kind of a little bit further down, other, I can't remember exactly what I say, but uh, you can, other methods available or something like that. But terms of usage, 1 year, license, to renew the license, contact me, all that sort of thing. And then if they have something like an issue with that, then they'll either write me back. I'll request a phone call with them so I can talk to them. That because I like to talk to them in person instead of doing it back and forth via email, if I possibly can.
And
If
what?
they don't,
And
if they
your
don't want to talk to
conversation with
me.
them.
Mhm,
How do you approach them? And I'm asking this for a reason.
mhm,
I want people to hear the kind of
mhm,
language you would use talking to a client that you're educating about.
mhm.
It's not just the one time fee for the session, but you are paying
Correct.
for usage and usage
Mhm,
for a certain
mhm,
amount of time.
mhm. Absolutely. Usage right, and the other thing too is about the money is that they usually, if they'll ask me for a quote, I will always ask them if they have a budget first. So the person who mentions the numbers first loses.
Yeah, well,
Really, a
I
lot
know
of times
that
that's
one.
the way it works. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, that's number 1. What is your budget? And then we'll go back and forth there. So, if they come back and say, "Well, we want this in perpetuity," and I'll say, I'll basically say that my license terms, especially it depends on where they're using it, right? If it's like a in-house corporate, and they want in perpetuity, I mean, I might agree to that, but I have to make sure that I know exactly how and where, and I will stipulate terms. At this point, I've added this to the contract that it is property if the company, the data needs to be destroyed. If the company it cannot be sold or resold. That's another part of my terms. And so if they fight for me for in perpetuity, it depends on the money they're offering me, and what I think about the company. Because at this point, if I've gone back and forth and I've actually spoken to them on the phone, you get a lot when you talk to people on the phone. I'm not into this like back and forth via email, and that always makes me, if they don't want to talk to me on the phone or discuss the project, then I don't have a problem saying no if I feel that it's not going right, or fair for me. And to be honest with you, I've been in this business long enough that one client, if they're going to fight with me about that, I don't need it. I just don't. I would much rather spend my time, working with a client that doesn't have a problem with my terms.
Yeah.
And, that's especially if they won't speak to me and they just want to do this via, email. I don't have a problem just saying, perhaps I'm not the right person. for you. And it took me so many years to get to this place. It really did. But once you get to that place, there's no going back. It's an amazing sense of empowerment when it actually works in your favor and you say no, and then they either come back to you and they agree to it, or you get a better client down the road who doesn't have a problem at all with your terms. And that's pretty much it. When I slam them with that paragraph in the quote, not in the invoice, but in the quote, before we've determined everything, that's an agreement. That's a contract. And if they don't say anything, then I'm good. I'm good to work with them. But if they start giving me issues, then they won't talk to me, I don't have a problem saying, I'm sorry, maybe I'm not the right fit.
Well, you know what? Because I have been represented by agents for so many years,
Hmm.
um, and I pretty much know what union scale is. If I get somebody that calls me and asks me about something, I can give them, oh, well, this would be this.
Hmm.
Talk to my agent, talk to my manager. Um, you don't always have that, and one of the things I've recommended to people, know what you charge for various
Hmm.
kinds of services before
Oh yeah.
you have to talk to somebody. So on your website, if you are your own agent, your own business person, you should have a price list. What you charge for certain kinds of services. But
I have my own rate guide. Yeah, it's not published, but it's my own.
yeah, well, it doesn't have to
Yeah, yeah,
necessarily be,
and it's
but
based.
but
Yeah.
you do, if it's not there where they can see it on your website, it needs to be there where you can see it when you're having
Hmm.
a conversation and responding to them. I have, let's see, Myron, what's going on? Hello, fam. Thanks for the amazing content. Quick question. Can you give us a mock conversation about getting a demo done? Please include coaching process and what to expect from talent's perspective if you have time. Thank you. Do you do demos for people?
I do.
Okay, and what questions do you expect from the person you're doing demos from, and what is the conversation you have with them?
Well, first of all, the conversation that I have with them, I because I don't just produce demos. I'm a little different. 'Cause I think it's my teacher background. I fully expect people to coach with me, and not just a couple of times. I fully expect people to coach with me because what I do is I really want to try to vocally brand them, in the specialty areas in which I work, which is like corporate narration, e-learning, medical, that sort of thing. And it takes time. It takes time to vocally brand someone. It takes time for somebody. I want to make sure that their performance they're going to be able to recreate that performance, without me in the future, because and it is about your voice, of course, but I'm also pretty darn protective of my own reputation. And
Yeah,
if I created a demo and you aren't able to reproduce that sound at least 80%, right?
yeah,
I haven't done my job. And so that doesn't take 2 sessions. That's like my minimum. I mean, kind of is like 10.
yeah.
And that's not even. Sometimes I have students that have been with me for 50 sessions, and it just really depends, and I literally am like, look, I want you to be able to feel comfortable, on your own, in self-directing in your booth, without, maybe I'll be in your ear by that time, but
You
who
know
knows?
what? You and I are
It's
so on the same
important.
page with that. I had a student the other day who took a lesson from me. He's working with somebody else, and that other person told him, "Oh, you really are. I can put together a great demo for you."
No, no.
And I always feel like you're not ready for a demo until you are ready to be able to recreate that demo
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
Because what is a demo for? It's to get you auditions, jobs, and agents. And if
Mhm.
you send that demo in, and an agent says, "Oh, love your demo, come on in," guess what? They're going to put a bunch of copy in front of you and see what you can do with it.
Yeah.
If you get booked on a job from that, you're going to be in a studio. They're going to put copy in front of you, and they expect
Mhm.
you to be able to knock that out now.
Mhm.
So you hurt yourself with a great demo that you can't live up to.
Yeah.
Uh, I always feel like demo production is a give and take.
Mhm.
I I only will do video game demos, and only if I've been working with you. and I
Yeah,
don't want to do a
I
whole
agree with
lot of
that.
them. I don't want to be
Yeah.
a
I don't
Mr.
either.
Demo producer.
I don't
Uh,
either.
and if I don't have a problem, if I've been working with you and you want to do the demo with somebody else, you won't pay any less, but you might get it faster. But
I
you won't get my personal touch.
Well, I think if you're going to spend, well, and it's funny because, of course, like if you're not happy with your demo, there's a money back guarantee, there's all that sort of stuff. But honestly, people work with me so long before they produce their demo. Like if you don't know what my strategy is for you and we haven't
Yeah,
discussed it, like there's just no way you're going to be, if you're unhappy, I would know it.
yeah,
And if you don't say anything and you're that unhappy, then, bad on you.
yeah.
Because we've been working together for, many, many sessions and, like I am very transparent. I'm like, here, oh, I like your sound with this, and here's what I'm going to do here. And, and basically from day one, I am in my head, I'm vocally branding, I'm creating that demo. But it takes time and it's not fast. And if somebody wants it fast, I won't work with them.
Yeah,
I just won't because it's
there you
not,
go.
it's just, it's not worth it for me. And
It's too
I don't
important.
do,
It's too important to rush.
it is. Yeah, and I don't do demos, like, I'm not like that's not everything that I do. I mean, literally, I like to consider myself a boutique, you know, kind of like I have my lane, I have my specialty areas, and I really focus on doing them amazingly well.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
So,
Let's see. I have another comment here on this subject. Dave Clark. Hi, Ann and Dave. So great to see you guys. Still loving and getting work straight off the demo Ann and I did together. Worth every penny I spent.
oh, Dave Clark, thank you.
Yeah. Now,
That was so nice.
can I ask what kind of demo it was?
A corporate
Corporate narration.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is probably the biggest expansive area for
Mm-hmm.
voiceover work right now. That we do have
Absolutely.
audiobooks.
Yep.
But I actually think that corporate narr is probably more lucrative.
And I tell people corporate narration, like the type that I focus on is, there's what 30.4 million registered companies with the SBA. Every one of them has a product or a service, and not every one of them is going to do a radio spot or a television commercial, but they will have a website with a video or a YouTube channel with a video, and that's where corporate narration comes in. So it's very much like a soft sell, and it's very much like a long, like almost like I call it the Super Bowl commercial, anything that's over a minute, between 1 minute and 5 minutes length. And so you have a lot of time to tell the story. And good companies, right? But companies that are really vested in their brand will spend a lot of money to tell their story correctly. And if you get one of those, like that's like, it's like the dream corporate job. But those are the types of spots that I like to focus in on a demo, because those are the spots that really showcase your acting. And again, they're not going to showcase you sounding like an AI bot, which is what you don't want anyways. You want to showcase
or
your
hard
acting.
sell. They're not going to be, hey,
Yeah,
come on in and buy it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you get a good corporate client. Now
they come back.
They're coming back, and they're coming back, and they're coming back.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? We're just about at 6:58. Now, I knew this was going to be an information-packed session with Ann Ganguzza on Ask Dave Fennoy Anything, but wow, even more jam-packed with information than I could have imagined. Thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you if they would like to work with you on something?
AnnGanguzza.com. Everything is on my website, AnnGanguzza.com.
Absolutely. And so good to see you. Just amazing.
You too.
My only disappointment is I'm not at your house where your husband is cooking, because it's so damn good.
Now that things are opening back up, we may just have just a party and just invite all our good friends over. So
there you go. Well, if
you'll
I
be
don't
first
get
on
an
the
invite,
list.
I'll be very
You'll
hurt.
be first on the list, and then I'm coming to listen to music over by.
That's right.
By
Hey, we're planning what date we're going to have Backyard Jazz. I know the 15th is when California opens up, but it won't be that soon. That's just a few days away. But we are hoping to get our back in the swing of things by late summer, early fall, and I'll be letting everybody know Backyard Jazz is coming back. So, bravo. I know a lot of people, the comments, I didn't share them all, but the comments have been so positive, and I hope some people connect with you to get more information about you and what you can help them with.
Dave,
And what?
thank you so much.
Oh,
Yeah.
you are so
This was so
welcome.
much fun. It went so fast.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it
Always,
went way too
always.
fast.
Well, I'll let
So,
you go. Hang on. Don't go away yet, though.
okay.
All right. Ann Ganguzza, ladies and gentlemen. And you can catch her at AnnGanguzza.com. And you can catch me, of course, at DaveFennoy.com if you'd like to have some private lessons or sign up for reminders about this, that, or the other that Dave Fennoy might be doing. And these Ask Dave Fennoy Anythings live at YouTube at Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. So I'll call it an evening. I'm going to go get some dinner, and you guys book something.